Welcome to the Greatness Together podcast. Curious minds unite. Mother-daughter conversations that delve into the heart of psychology. Thanks for joining us. Simonne, today's the day.
Christmas?
No, even better. It is even better. This is our very first, you know how we said a year ago when we started this podcast, how it would be so much fun to interview another mom-daughter duo?
If only we knew one.
If only, but that's the thing. It's the day. Today is the day.
Oh my goodness.
Do you remember a few months ago, I came home, I was the closing keynote speaker, and I said, I had dinner with the coolest lady. She ran the public health for the province of New Brunswick, and I was in total hero worship. And you were like, yeah, you had those eyeballs. You had the, what? And I said, yeah. And her daughter's this super cool, confident young woman. She's doing psychology as well. And you're like, no way. And then I think I got a twinkle in my eye and I said, oh, I think that's who we should interview as our first mother-daughter pair. And you were like, let's do it.
And so today's the day.
And today's the day. And our listeners, please meet Jen, Jennifer, Queen, and Olivia, Princess, Goddess. Welcome to the Greatness Together podcast. Thank you for being on with us, sweet sisters.
Thank you for having us. Very excited, very excited.
And we wanted to ask you guys, what would you like to talk about? And what's the plan, Simonne?
Yep, so we have some questions that us daughters are going to direct to our overworking mothers and possible reciprocation here because
overworking. Wait a minute. Jen, did you know that we're overworking? This is news to me.
I don't know.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Ooh.
Today's the day of realization.
Yeah.
And overcoming and learning and accepting and overcoming, period.
Like that is again. So much good stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So Olivia, I do have to say, your mom just said like, not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Us and the listeners, the not anymore.
Well, me and my mom have a very unique relationship, and we have been through quite a few things together. One of those being COVID. That was a crazy time for us. So around that time, my parents were divorced, so I would be with my mom 1 week off, 1 week on, and during the start of lockdowns, I decided to stick with my mom, and that's just kind of what I wanted. I want to be with my mom during, COVID and uncertain times. However, my mom had this big, important role, and she was kind of at the center of this huge pandemic. So it was just a very weird few years. She would leave for work at 6 a.m. and come home at 9 o'clock at night. And along with her working all the time, even when she was home, I'd see her on TV. I would see her on social media. I would see what other people had to say about her, what my friends were thinking, people I went to school with. Like, it was just super, super odd time in our lives. So I think for me, when I think of mom overworking herself, it's that period of time that I go to.
Yeah.
But I think we found a really, really good balance now that she has her new job at UNB, which she loves. We just moved into a new, beautiful home. It's just has all calmed down a little bit. And I think her not working so much and seeing her be stressed all the time definitely has an effect on me. And so yeah, that's that.
Articulate.
I was gonna say you are extremely well spoken.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Where did that come out of?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. My COVID was not doing homework and playing all the time, so that's definitely a difference. And
Friends.
even your COVID was learning how to finish or fix your business and everything.
Yeah, my whole business like collapsed as a speaker with no conferences, nobody to talk to. It just, so we had a very different, experience, Jen, you and I. However, the hustle, the overwork came from having to rebuild a business out of nothing. And then that being hard to let go of that. I need to be hyper vigilant. I need to always make sure that I'm doing more, doing extra, staying on top of trends. What's going to happen here? What's going to happen there? Um, I can't help but be curious. Do both of you have kind of this heightened, what do we need to be paying attention to? Or are you like, oh no, that's behind us. We are not doing that anymore.
I'll let you answer first.
It took a really long time for me to let go of that. I mean, I'm pretty sure like maybe even 2 whole years to let that go. The hypervigilance and always being aware. I mean, I think when I go on vacation now and that's kind of the barometer, like, wow, am I thinking about work when I'm on vacation? Can I put my phone in the hotel safe? Can I leave it there with no consequences and nothing bad's going to happen? Because I had been on vacations where at one point we were in Florida and they called me from work and said, can you do a press conference from your hotel room? And I'm like, no, no, I can't. Could I? Yeah, I could. Do I want to? No, I'm not going to. So there are some boundaries. I think there's things that we can control and things that we can't control. But certainly in the areas that we can control, setting better boundaries in terms of that work-life balance and understanding that the consequences, and you and I probably talked about those books that, when the body says no, or the body keeps score, that, we're not machines. The stuff catches up with us, it bites us in the behind.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And Olivia, what about you?
Well, when I think about that, I think about it more related to friendships and school and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I do have a job, but it's just a part-time job, so I'm not really in that work-life balance area yet.
But she did have a really engaging, I don't want to say stressful, but it certainly was draining last summer.
Oh, yes. That was, you're right. So that last summer, I worked as a behavior interventionist with kids with autism over the summer. And that was a really hard thing to do over the summer because summer is hanging out with your friends and going out at night and all of that kind of stuff. But during the day, I was exhausted and drained emotionally and physically. And some of these kids did not have, happy families to go home to. And so I think that was the first kind of like wake up call, like, oh, like, can I leave, this at work and come home and still relax? And
you made a good choice about that. She went from working full-time to working half-time. So she did have the energy to give to the kids, and she still had energy at the end of the day to give to herself and her friends.
Yeah.
I think that's a conversation for your generation.
Yeah.
My parents were like, work a second job.
Right.
It wasn't how you do it.
Yeah, and she made another decision earlier in the spring that I had a hard time with because it's my generation, where she actually quit a job. And I was like, you did what? You what? And I was in Ottawa at the time, and I wasn't part of the conversations that led up to that. But in hindsight, looking back, and when I hear the arguments of what happened, it was very necessary for her to quit that job for many reasons. And in fact, she wouldn't have ended up getting the other job if she hadn't quit that one. But again, these are decisions and choices and ways of being that you and I didn't really have the option of really entertaining.
Yeah, for sure. Very, very different generation. And do you look at your, at me, at other high achieving women, and it give you kind of perspective on what is important to you? Like, do you kind of use this as a mirror to say what you want, what you don't want? Or is it kind of like, no, I'm just going to do me?
Well, yeah, it definitely shows me that there's options, or that I'm like lucky to have options to like take a step back and even doing things like quitting your job if you're not completely happy, or I don't know, maybe changing programs if you're not happy in it. It kind of seems like a lot more liberating this generation. Like you were saying, it's kind of forbidden during when you were growing up to like change your job or quit your job, blah blah blah, knowing that you're going into like an ambiguous environment. Like I don't know if I'll have enough money for the next month, blah blah. But yeah, like I do feel a lot less pressure and I'm a lot more support from you. Like even you saying that your parents would like never allow that, and then you're just like, oh yeah, do what you want, I'll support you through this, I'll support you through that. It just feels a lot more freeing and
Well,
flexible.
that's good because you have, we want, I mean, I know I speak for you too, Jen, that we want you young women to be able to step into whatever you choose from a place of choice, and then to shift so that it is the right thing for your well-being, your physical health, your mental health, your relationship health, your spiritual health, and not be so unilateral. I know, when I was your age, it was, where are you going to go with your career? How quickly can you climb the ladder? There is a ladder, climb it, make the most of your education. Don't pivot once you've started down an educational path. Take it as far as you can go. And it was just that we didn't question it. And we were told you have to go to university, and there was none of this, consider college, consider a professional degree, take a gap year. Oh my gosh, those were not options. Those were not even possibilities.
I think we find the root to this overworking pattern
Where?
going on here.
See it, I don't know what you're talking about. It's a mystery to me.
But if you grew up like having these rituals and having these principles, like I don't blame you for just being blindsided to being overworked and being in denial of not giving time for yourself and all these types of things. But I wonder, when in your life, when in your career did you realize that you were pushing yourself through like a form you can't fit into and just working yourself more than your body can control? Like when was it in your career that you were like, maybe this isn't so all right, normal?
Oh, and I can't wait for Jen to answer this question too. So, but it was, for me, it wasn't until your brother had his crisis. So Justin, our older son, he had a mental health crisis due to being so badly bullied at school. So like awful, crushing bullying in grade 4. Like it had gone on and off for years, but in grade 4 it was really awful. And then we found out just how bad it had been. And when you're in grade 4, you don't want to tell anybody what's going on, right? You're not like, because your parents are going to come running into the school, and that is the last thing that you want. But that was the thing that made me realize I worked through postpartum depression. I worked through, renovations, tiny children. I can remember being mad at our babysitter for saying and giving us a month's notice that she was going to take 2 weeks vacation. And one of them was during March break when Simonne's dad's a teacher. And I had to take a week off of work. And I was like, how am I supposed to take a week off of work with only a month's notice? It was the best.
Loves her preparation.
I do. But it was the best week. It was like such a gift looking back on it now, because you and I had that one-on-one time when you were the most adorable. Okay, you're like adorable now, but you were like you little version of yourself. It was the best week. But that, like, even that did not cue me in to the fact that maybe my priorities were all upside down and backwards. It took an external crisis for me to realize. And then I'm constantly needing you to remind me, like, oh, do you need to go to yoga? So I'm a little bit more self-aware now. But that was what it was. I didn't have an external footprint of of saying no to balance. My dad worked crazy hard and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. I had these two extreme versions and I was trying to aspire to be that full-time, hardworking, high achieving, person, but also be the most amazing mom. I wanted to be the most of both of my parents. No pressure or anything. So external, it had to be an external crisis.
Oh my goodness.
What about you, Jen? What was same question for you?
Well, it's probably, I mean, the pandemic, unfortunately brought out the overachieving in me, but it also, I'm ex-military. I went through MOTP training. So the military mode of work and lifestyle just came back into being. And that really is about suppressing your own needs and about showing up for the mission. And if that is in you for whatever reason, and what you're achieving and what you're accomplishing matters more than you as a human being, it's a bit dehumanizing. It's a bit, you do become a bit of an automaton and you do suppress a lot of thoughts and feelings. And so, sometimes you do have an external crisis that can bring you out of that. And for me, I was in a car accident on my way to a press conference, totaled my car. I hit a deer and going 120 kilometers an hour, and walked away. But not without a lot of pain and stiffness and requiring a lot of physio for like a year and a half. And through that time, I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to get through this and it's going to be fine. And then I took some time off and then I went back into the same work environment that I had come from. And then I was diagnosed with colitis about 6 weeks later. So those two things combined, kind of like, okay, I got to change gears completely. This is really not something I can do anymore. I can't sustain this. It's not healthy. It's not reasonable. It's not humane. And so that was my wake up call. And I've been able to pivot since then. And now I'm at UNB and I'm doing my dream job, which is upstream prevention and population health. I trained as a family physician and then worked in public health for 10 years and was always interested in prevention. And now I get to do that 24/7, except I don't do it 24/7. I do it 8 to 4, Monday to Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're taking this absolutely incredible academic and work experience, and you are still making change and you're still making the world better without having to make yourself worse off and being able to spend time with such a scrumptious daughter. I mean, that's maybe the counter lesson to all of this is you do need to lay down enough delicious option tracks in order to keep having the options to be able to do what you need to do.
Yeah, and some of the time off, I took time to take a mindfulness course. I did a yoga teacher training course, 200 hours. And so again, like you can just add these things into your life that then allow you to pull back when you need to and use that as your way to recharge and regroup and press pause when you need to. And then at one point, Olivia is now doing Pilates. And at one point has considered doing the Pilates teacher training as well.
You're going to have a mother-daughter wellness retreat.
Yeah, basically.
Hopefully you bought a house with a space where you can be having these retreats.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Move the couches around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at me. See, I just did it again. Oh, I have not only an idea of more work, I'm going to assign it to you guys.
Yeah, that's my mother.
That's awesome.
So it sounds like you both have made quite large leaps in your life, like you quitting your job, starting a completely different route to your life. And did you quit your or ministry of what was the occupation?
Yeah, I was the Chief Medical Officer of Health for the Department of Health in government. Yeah, I left that job and went to work at the University of New Brunswick and started from scratch a brand new institute called the Institute of Population Health.
Wow, good for you. You guys, okay, you guys are the same person. Okay, my question is,
That's why I loved her right away. And together and have the same taste in wine. I'm just saying there's our similarity. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to hop on a plane and come visit.
Yes.
We
Yes,
have lots of room
we do.
and lots of yoga mats.
Yes.
Oh,
Not
well, perfect.
No, we'll get a reformer board though. If you're
reformer.
coming, we'll invest. Yes.
Okay, perfect. It's a done
Okay.
deal.
Okay.
What advice do you have for people out there who aren't very happy in their job and their lifestyle, who are like worried about making that huge not random, like
It can seem random to other
yeah,
people.
like
Mhm.
fearful leap, like just finishing your or not
Yeah.
like finishing one chapter of your life and worried about starting the other. Like,
Mhm.
what advice do you have people who are
Yeah.
wanting to do that but just need that extra push?
That is such a good question. And I get asked that a lot. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Be proud of that question. I get asked that question a lot. Jen, do you get asked this question a lot too? Because people have seen your journey? Like how do you make such a big leap and change?
I don't get asked that question. I think I get asked about resiliency and in terms of whatever crisis or whatever challenge you have. So it's not necessarily career related. It happened to be career related for me, but I think whatever you're facing in life, there are some different skill sets and tools in your toolbox that if you don't have them, where can you find them? And then you can apply them to whatever challenge you're facing and obstacles in your life.
So what you say, you have like an answer that is a reflection question. What tools do you have in your toolbox? What have you been through in your life that you can pull out? I like that. I
Mhm.
like that. When people ask me, it's usually having to do with starting a job. So I give them a bunch of homework. Maybe it's not helping them. Now that I reflect on your answer, maybe I should be doing that instead. I might
today-
answer differently.
Today was for realization. So
Exactly.
we're realizing the overworkingness.
Not only am I overworking, I'm apparently creating a bunch of overworkers out there too. How it's similar in that I encourage people to share what they know so openly and starting immediately. I tell people, write about what you know, write about your experiences, write about tools, ideas, techniques, put it on LinkedIn if nowhere else, and then let people see your brilliance and have conversations with people, answer questions, write more when people start to engage with you, lean into that. So it's a bit of a discovery. I guess it's maybe through the form of writing. And oftentimes people are thinking, what do I need to do next? What certification, what designation, what degree? And I'll say, so convince me or convince yourself that you need to do anything else. Because what you've just explained to me is you had an amazing job that you're leaving. You had this other cool job that you left. You volunteering here. You're doing this. You have that degree. You have that designation. I don't think you need more. I think now the world just needs to make sure you're not the best kept secret. So tell people what you know. One of the most important things in life, I think, is to be interesting. And so that means don't keep it a secret and tell people interesting things that will help them, like help them. So that's my answer. I give people homework. What would you say, Simonne? And I want to know from Olivia. Do people ever ask you, like, how do you make a big pivot? Because you've made cool moves in your almost 20 years, going traveling and starting school and, all of that. So what would you tell
Just
them?
do it. like there's always gonna be what ifs, and there's always gonna be buts, and there's always gonna be a worse circumstance. But what if that doesn't happen? Like, what if it's life-changing and brings you so many interesting stories to tell people, and just opportunities and connections, and a lot of the things that you're worried about like really aren't as big as you imagine them and as you make them out to be in your mind. Like, your mind really just, I forget the term for it, but it's just like we always gravitate towards the most negative thing. Like, if we see
Catastrophizing. Or that's the
Yeah.
anxiety version.
Well, like when we see like a bunny versus like a python, we're like, oh my God, that python's gonna like kill me. It's not like, oh, look at that cute bunny. It's like straight to negativity, straight to anxiety.
Mhm.
And like even me just randomly going to Australia for 4 months. I didn't even really want to go. I didn't even know anything about the country, but I was like, meh, work at home for 4 months or travel and work in Australia. I'll take Australia. Yeah, I might get like eaten by a shark, but
Unlikely. Yeah.
But there were much bigger opportunities to come out of
Mhm.
it. So just go for it.
Yeah, Simone told me, came in for dinner and she's like, I think I'm gonna do a work term, a work summer in Australia. I'm like, oh, I'm a little bit more like roll with it with this whole international traveler vibe Simone's got than Mark, her dad. He gets this, puppy dog. Where are we going now? But I hear what you're saying. Just go for it. I love that. That's great advice. Just what's the worst that happens? Don't assume the worst case scenario is actually a scenario that will happen. That's how I just interpreted that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like there's always going to be worries, but
Yeah.
they do not outweigh the bigger opportunities.
Yes. Nice. Olivia, what about you?
Well, all that I'm thinking about is my dad growing up. He had this philosophy, way of thinking, way of parenting, that was always say yes. Just say yes, grab it. If it's in front of you and it's offered to you and you can do it, just say yes. So having heard that growing up through my life, that's kind of how I think about things now too. Like if I get presented an opportunity, if you say yes, it can only make your world bigger, and it can only kind of expand your knowledge and the way you think about life and your views on like it can only make it bigger. Even if stuff goes wrong, it's gonna help. It's gonna help teach you something in some way. So that's kind of what I think about that. I mean, if it's scary, that's one thing, but if it's there and it excites you, go for it, do it. Just like what Simone said, just say yes, grab it. It can only kind of expand your world. So that's what I think.
The permission that both of you by your answer just gave me, I don't know, Jen, if what you were thinking as you were listening to these brilliant whether other than yeah, I'm part of that. I'm responsible for this loveliness here. In addition to that, I'm thinking, both of you have given me permission to say, I said yes to so many things. I get a chance to stop being so hard on myself that I said yes to so many things. And that the things that I am to this day is because I said yes to a whole bunch of things. And not everybody did. So I might live my life bigger. I probably didn't notice all the signs that I didn't have to quite maybe go to that extreme. But I appreciate that. I think I've said yes to a lot of things. So thank you.
Mhm.
And you're right, Simone. What's the worst? Like, I'm not broken. Nobody's broken. Some of the struggles that we've been through as a family are actually our thrival story. So maybe the fact that some of that broke is a good thing. And actually, on that note, I do feel like when we get it wrong, Jen, I don't know about if you agree with this, but when we get it wrong, that's really important for our kids to see that so that they don't hold us on a pedestal, or they don't think like, oh, wait a minute, I'm making a mistake. I didn't see that happen in my parents. Why did they feel like they had it all together? So you're welcome for making mistakes.
Flip side of failing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, Jen, as you're listening to our beautiful, smart, talented young women here in charge of their lives?
Well, they definitely, I think as Simone said, you have a different set of opportunities that we didn't have for different reasons, whether it's the pandemic or whether it's women's rights and feminism, or whether it's, the knowledge that your well-being is a priority and what you do is less important than than who you are.
Oh,
Wait,
mic drop.
say that again. My brain's kind of slow.
Your well-being is a priority, and what you do is less important than who you are.
Yeah.
Like being just
Yeah.
being, you see those things like you're enough. Like we didn't grow up with you're enough. We're like, if you don't do it right, don't do it at all. That's what we grew
Right.
up with. Like
Yeah.
we didn't have the t-shirt that said you're enough. I wish we did, because we probably grew up feeling like we weren't enough unless we did overachieve. And if you
Right.
didn't do it right, don't bother doing it at all. Meaning like perfectionism was the standard. That was what you were striving for. So I am grateful that you have the opportunity to explore who you want to be as human beings, not tied to this condition.
Yes. As you're, the version of that I've heard that really sticks with me is we're human beings, not human doings. And, it took me many times of hearing that for it really to sink in. I do distinctly remember when Brene Brown first came out with The Gifts of Imperfection, talking about perfectionism, and somebody gave it to me. One of my team members gave it to me. And I was like, I don't understand why I need this. And she's like, no, I just feel like it would be really great for you. I read it and I feel like it'd be really great. I'm like, I don't understand. What's the problem with perfectionism? I don't understand. Why would they write a book about this? No joke, right? I mean, it's probably the first one was about 14 years old. 14 years ago. This is how recent it is that we are just shifting our mindset about perfectionism. Do you remember when the first time you were told you don't have to be perfect, Jen?
Yeah, actually my ex-husband told me when I was around 20 years old, because that's when we met. He said, you need to learn the 80% solution. I said, what's the 80% solution? He says, well, to get an A or an A minus, you probably have to expend like 80% of energy. But to get from an A to an A plus, you probably have to expend 20% more energy to get there. And that's going to take a big chunk out of your quality of life. So if you subscribe to the 80% solution, you can get what you want out of life without killing yourself, basically.
Right. Yeah.
That's good. I've never heard about that.
I think that's the Pareto principle. Is it the Pareto?
I don't know. He was an engineer. He was a doctor. He's got, did chemical engineering, then psychology, then medicine, and then a master's in health admin from Harvard.
Wow. Wow. This is a well-rounded family. You have a pretty brilliant gene pool there, Olivia. No
Oh
wonder-
yes, I'm well aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great for everybody to hear.
Yeah.
Definitely your generation.
Mm-hmm.
I would say students in school today,
Mm-hmm.
but I think many students that I'm around only do that 20%. So
You're saying they need a bit of a counter lesson.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're getting away with you.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, and you know what? There is your point's well taken that there is a balance that, you have to expend enough work for not only to, be able to meet the mark, but also for you to feel pride. And that's, I guess, where your generation is maybe getting, or at least high performers, such as both of you in your generation are getting it right, is you don't have to get it perfect to get it really great. And you want a great life and you want to have great things, and it doesn't have to be perfect. So
Yeah,
that's awesome.
something I've been realizing a lot is like the importance of finding your enough, because there's always going to be more you could do. There's going to be more, like, I don't know, more different, like, more studied
Mhm.
thingy, like techniques you could do. There's always going to be more material you could be studying. You could memorize every last sentence in the textbook. But that extra extent you go is really taking up your last 20% that you're
Mhm.
like that you're able to give. So maybe instead of like seeing your family, you're gonna just hibernate in your room studying all night. But if you are happy with a 70% or 80% doing that work like 80% of the time, then that's your enough. Like
Mm.
there will always be more, like in every aspect of life, but what is enough for you? There's always going to be a new diet, a new food you could try. But
Mhm.
if you like your, I don't know, apple and yogurt breakfast and your like your 30-minute walk, and that's what makes you feel good internally, instead of getting a Ozempic and all this blah 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 blah,
Mhm.
then just accept and find your enough.
That would have been a great question for me to ask myself. Thank you. That is good. I love that. Say yes. What is your enough? 80%. What is your 80%? Your reflection on, you've been here before, right? Your Jen, your reflection that you encourage people to, what has been your roadmap or what's already in your toolkit? What are some of the other yummy things that we talked about in this episode? So we could do a little roundup for I just listed a whole
I was
bunch
gonna
of them. I'm
say.
an assimilator. Can you tell? Yeah. I literally can't read something without being, oh, I remember I've learned that before. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Do you want to see the puppy?
Yes. Yes. Anyone who is just listening to this, you must go over to YouTube, watch the video, see the coordinated mother-daughters, not planned, just a gift, and new puppy. Oh my. Oh,
This is Bo.
He's about 4 months old now.
Oh, so bold.
I just feel like I can feel the
Yeah.
soft.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm the fur grandma. I'm the fur baby grandma.
Yeah.
And this is Olivia's baby, fur baby.
Oh, so sweet. And what a great dog, didn't bark once.
I know, he's just asleep.
Oh, wow.
How old's he? Is
4 months.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
How long until they're at their biggest?
He'll probably be there at 6 months,
Really?
7 months.
Yeah. Get pretty big pretty quick.
Oh,
Good
cute. Oh my God. Huge love. Huge.
Oh yes.
Oh my gosh.
Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much, Simonne. Thank you, Sarah. And we do want to connect in person again sometime.
Oh yeah, we're doing the 4-person retreat. We're just gonna get together.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank
It-
Yeah, thank you again for having us. It was so much fun.
yeah. All right, sisters. Thanks for the education. Bye.
Sure.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us for the Greatness Together podcast. Never miss an episode. Subscribe wherever you catch your podcasts. Yours in greatness, Simonne and Sarah.